Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Excited to be here the day after the big Super Bowl, and I think our next guest actually picked the Super Bowl. She has some intuition for sure. Janis Reed joining us here today. Yeah, she's Heyoka. She's a truth teller, a storyteller, and she's got an innate gift that was given to her. And we're excited to have her back here. How are you?
Oh, I'm good. It always happens though, after I pick some winner that I have a day of regret. I put no money on the game last night. But I did pick the winner and I posted it on my Facebook page. I looked at the clock. It was about 2 3/4 of an hour still before the game started. But I went ahead and posted it because I was feeling bold. And what I did, I I have little understanding of football.
Ditto.
I've watched football since I was a kid. I
Mhm.
mean, football is in. I'm from Georgia. I'm football. Yeah, woo woo. No clue how it operates. I have literally watched from the first Super Bowl, now 57 of them off and on through the years. I probably hit about 20 of them, but I watch a lot. So last night I thought I've been on a roll lately. I've been really good coming up with answers.
Mhm.
Well, I've never done this before. I've tried to like woo woo and figure out who's going to win the Super Bowl,
Uh-huh.
but I've never done it in my little scientifically psychic way, which
Okay.
I did last night or yesterday. I
Amazing.
have a numerology chart that is ancient.
Mhm.
I mean, it was made, whoever made they had not thought of football yet. It had not yet come on the scene. It's pretty old and I love it. It has never failed me, but
Mhm.
I've never used it to predict a football game.
Wow.
So, what better game to predict than the Super Bowl? So I got out my weights and measures and crystal balls and bells and yah-yahs and ho-hos and figured it out that it would be a really close game, that the Chiefs would win. There was
Mhm.
just no way the Chiefs were not going to win, in spite of what it looked like when it started, and that the Eagles actually had a good chance of suffering some sort of surprise accident.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I was pushing the envelope at that point because
Mhm.
I don't want anybody to get carried off on a stretcher,
No, no,
and
of
that
course
was
not.
in my little egotistical mind. That's what I was worried about, but
Mhm.
that's what the numbers said.
Yeah.
So I boldly posted where no idiot has ever posted before and put that up on my page and let the world see it. And then watched as the first half happened, and the Chiefs were just, you know, the best they could do is hang on to their hats,
Mhm.
and that was going to be iffy. And then Rihanna come on, and golly Pete, that woman, if I could have looked that good pregnant, I'd have had a lot more kids.
I know,
But
right? Uh-huh.
she's just a beautiful woman. But when it was over, the game kind of turned around. And in the last quarter, I'm Miss Bold here at that point. I
Mhm.
went and took a shower.
Oh my
Instead
goodness.
of watching the last 10 minutes, I was I was sure they were going to win. I went and took a
Yeah.
shower and I came out in time to see the last play. Yes, the Chiefs won, and yes, it was close. But I wondered, I had watched and I had not seen any accidental, surprise accident that I would say a surprise accident from the Eagles.
Yeah.
Today, it's on the news. It's
Mhm.
actually in the news. The NFL called that the Eagles had grabbed the shirt of a Chief player, and that meant they had a penalty.
Wow.
Well, the guy who actually did the grabbing said to the interviewer, I didn't mean to grab him, and I
Mhm.
hope they had missed it. But it was, yeah, I did. I grabbed him. It was an accident.
Mhm.
Boing! So I remain champion of the world. I still have no idea how football works, but I can work a chart.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I realized that's something really doable. People can just send me a message and I'll do up numbers for them and their names.
Mhm.
And using my magical chart, so far, like I said, it has never failed me. I'd be darned if I wouldn't have. I would not have put the football. I didn't put money on the football bet because
Mhm.
that's not really what it's for. It's kind
Yeah.
of like for more holy type things.
Mhm.
But what's more holy than the Super Bowl? So
Yeah.
uh-huh, so I wanted to brag on myself today because I rarely and seldom do it. But doggone it, I'm proud of myself. It worked out just exactly as I said it would.
Amazing. Well, see, it's an intuitiveness from you within, and it's just who you are. Hey, yoga.
Yeah, get the scores first, play the game afterwards. That is perfect balance with my backwardness.
Hmm.
I like to give the answers before I get the puzzle.
Yeah.
I didn't know I could do it with a football game. This could
Hmm.
open up new doors for me.
Oh my
All y'all
goodness.
bookies, give me a call. We'll find out.
Seriously, right? Yeah.
Uh, really, it never dawned on me. I may have to put money down the next time when it's so obvious like this, but I will not reveal my magical chart.
Wow.
Um, it, it is. I'll tell you this. It's several thousand years old. I have no
Hmm.
idea who created it, but it was one that, like you said, it kind of resonated when I heard it. I was in Oklahoma City and had just begun my magical journey.
Uh-huh.
That is to say, I had an overage boyfriend and I had discovered LSD. So I was on a physical journey. It was the 70s. What can I say, in the 80s? But um, it opened up a lot of my blind spots. I only did it, a little bit a long time ago. But anyway,
Yeah.
as I opened up my curiosity and started to do and try some of the things that I had always been told don't do that because I said so, and I didn't get any better answers, so I went in search of answers.
Yeah.
When I got them, I backed out. I'm happily not addictable so far. But one of the things I did was I went into this bookstore in Oklahoma City called Star Winds.
Hmm.
Dear friend in there, she ran it. Her name was Joyce. Joyce was an amazing woman. She said, "Well, what do you feel today?" And I
Hmm.
didn't know any better. I didn't really know what she's talking about, but I held up my left hand and I started walking around this really well decked out bookstore. It was one that people would come from different coasts to find. And I went to this one place and there was like a pull. So I went over and there was a box on a display that had a fancy lid. The
Hmm.
box was well above my head and the lid was displayed on top. So I
Okay.
reached up and I took the lid away and took the book out of the box.
Yep.
There was no way I could have seen the book from where it was and where I stood, but I didn't hesitate. There was a book in that box and I knew it. And I reached up there and picked it out.
Hmm.
It was a book called The Kybalion. The Kybalion, uh, that's kind of an old book of answers too. But it's got 7 little statements in it. And it's another one I just
Okay.
love. When we follow our intuition, what we're doing is we're following, I hate to use the vibration, but that is what it is, in the
Hmm.
way that a violin changes vibration, not in the woo woo sense, but in the hard, carbon copy sense.
Hmm.
We follow songs that are pleasing to us.
True.
We
Yeah.
follow songs that are familiar to us,
Hmm.
which is why a lot of abused people go back to other people that are abusive because they're
Yeah.
familiar with the song. They just don't know
Hmm.
another song exists. So a lot of my work is to listen for people for their song. Part of the way that I confirm that is through this little chart that I use. Part of it, the way that I confirm, is to look at this little book, The Kybalion. It's a cute little book. Um, so I put together, when I do a reading for someone, when I tell them their story, I read their name first to find out what that vibration says. By utilizing that vibration, I know what their outline is,
Hmm.
what their probability, possibility is. That's how I knew the Chiefs would win. I would have bet
That's
on the
amazing.
Eagles because I really would have bet on the Eagles. But the
Wow.
Chiefs, that's what they said, and they did. Um, I've been doing this is what I've been doing lately. I've been doing stories for people and trying out new things.
Wow, there's
What do
so
you think?
much to what you do. I love it. Let me just remind everyone, Janice Reed here joining us. If you're just tuning in, to go to the website to reach out to her. Is it still psychic-medium-southwest-va.com?
The whole thing. Yes,
Perfect.
it
Good, good,
is.
good. Just making sure. And exciting to have her
Hey,
here. Goddess Janis
send me an
at
email. Yeah,
hotmail.com. That's Goddess Janis,
that's even easier.
GODDESSJANIS at hotmail.com. Again, we're talking here with her. She's an intuitive healer, psychic medium, predictor of the Super Bowl. She's a lot of talents.
Hey, it feels pretty good. It feels pretty good. The last a few years ago, I will not say exactly how many, but from 3 to 5 years ago, I was getting a really bad feeling about the future of the United States of America. But to my joy, that leaning has shifted. As the tide changes, so do I. So because I got to pick the Super Bowl, I'm gonna lean more towards the possibilities that America is going to come out of all their craziness just fine.
Yay! I love
So
this
make that down.
prediction.
That's another big prediction. Yes, yes. We'll come
Well,
out of this okay. We'll be changed. We'll be different. A lot of things that people have been taken for granted will have to be offered up and explained. And some of that's going to hurt some feelings, and some of it's going to really clear up some issues. We'll end up with a more sound, solid attempt at
mhm.
this great experiment called the United States, this cauldron of humanity. It does take all of us because each of us vibrate differently. Each of us is like a big pot of soup,
True.
pot of America.
Hmm.
You can be the carrot, I will be the round, chubby little potato. And together we throw us in a soup pot and we start sweetening each other,
Yeah.
making each other more palatable. You throw in some parsley, some onions. Oh my gosh.
Right?
You got a good meal and a good country.
Hmm.
So this is me saying the Chiefs can overtake the Eagles. Change can come through leadership, and I believe it will. And we'll all feel more comfortable. We won't any of us like all of it, but the majority of us will turn out feeling more comfortable and more safe as we begin to raise our children.
Yeah. Amazing.
Yeah.
And for those listening today, what else? I mean, could you help somebody with? I mean, there's a lot that you do as an intuitive healer. Do you work with people
Oh
like with
my
the,
goodness. I'll,
so,
I'll, I'll take all comers.
hmm.
Excuse me. I've asked Spirit to send me the people that I'm best able to serve.
Hmm.
So I get some really juicy questions. Sometimes people want to know, well, my life mission. I thought it was this. What's going on? And I can look back over their lifetimes backwards,
Hmm.
in this life space experience, sometimes in previous life space, well, a lot of times experiences, to find their thread so that they can pick up and understand where they're going with
Hmm.
something. I always like keeping the power in my clients' hands. I don't have any intention of taking anybody's power, but I like helping people understand how to use the information they've got. Things like smelling things out, it's a big deal.
Yeah. Hmm.
People talk about taking a deep breath. You take a deep breath, and what do you get? What is that smell?
Hmm.
That's information. That's
Yeah.
information.
Yeah.
So I help people learn to use their own senses in a way that is constructive to their needs.
Yeah.
It's not always what we were brought up to believe. Because I don't really believe in rules for myself. I don't
Hmm.
tend to use them unless I think they're worth something.
Wow.
So I help people scribble way outside the line. I mean, we go off the page, off into nirvana with our big purple crayons. I answer things like medical questions: should they go to the doctor or not? Do I think they should go to the doctor? Yeah. And what kind of doctor, and what do I agree with the doctor? It's been to my surprise. I will never go against a doctor because I didn't go through med school. But it has surprised me the different people that have come back to tell me they said you were right. It was this and so.
Wow.
Or because you said that and I insisted, they looked
They
and there it
looked.
was.
That is amazing,
Yeah.
right?
Two different OBGYN physicians called me at work to say, how did you do that? She's been trying to get pregnant for, umpteen years. And she said, she said, you got her pregnant. And, that just tickles me because I did.
Yeah.
I helped put her into the right receptive mood and to understand how to receive instead of direct. Life's pretty easy if people step outside the coloring book. As Heyoka, I love that.
I love it too. So you can help with infertility. Oh my gosh. And just this person's overall mood. And what about, could you see as a psychic being, that's where I get confused, right? Are you able to kind of see into the future as well? What's for them? Or I get confused with the term psychic compared to a medium.
Okay. A medium, we'll start there. Medium is on one side, hot is on one side, and cold is on the other. Okay, so
Okay.
over there is on one side, and I'm the medium, and I talk from one side to the other back and
Got it.
forth. Yes, I do that. As a psychic, I talk to anybody and everybody and everything. Rocks have messages, trees have messages, birds flying across my vision have messages. I did a thing for someone on one of the, I believe it was someone named Ross. I asked him to think
Yes.
up something he wouldn't mind sharing with the world. And as he thought of it, I showed the blank piece of white paper and I crumbled it up as he thought about it. And then I read the paper.
Come on.
And yeah, talk to
Can
him
we
about
try
it.
it? I want to try something like that.
Well, you know what? I don't even have a piece of paper with me that's smooth enough to do it. I should have thought about this, doing the
No.
vibrations. We'll do this next
Wow.
time, Jay.
Perfect.
But yeah,
Would
it was
love
pretty
to.
cool. I was talking about animals, in coats and snow. And he was kind of getting fidgety. Well, it turned out he's going to Calgary to spend some time out in the wild. Uh, he thought I did a pretty good hit. So, yeah, usually I'm much better at this than people realize when they talk to me. I think the Hey Yoga keeps me safe because it puts off so many people that I probably wouldn't want to talk to anyway, or I wouldn't be safe around. People that just want to be troublemakers. So those people, okay, they get put off. People who are truly curious and who understand in whatever way they understand that God makes all things, each of us in each of those. I simply do what God tells me. Yeah. I'm not trying to get into some other realm. I was raised in the church and baptized in the church, and me and Jesus go way back, but not as a mythological creature. I that's the way I work from. So this is what God makes me do. I always like to blame God. People think, oh, God is this and God is that. And I think, yeah, God's the cause of my life.
Right?
Yeah, but because I'm very comfortable in that realm, because I've spent my life talking to people on the other side, they were the ones that I was most familiar with growing up. I've just they've never been unavailable to me. I never had to learn how to reach out. I have practiced really hard trying to make them shut up and leave me alone. And that didn't work out really well. And so we've worked, if you'll pardon the expression, we've worked ourselves into a happy medium so that I can respond to what they need as well as what's needed of them.
Yeah.
One of our local musicians here, his name's Jim Lloyd. He is literally the barbershop musician.
Yeah.
of fame and fortune. I got the weirdest dream about him one night. And so I know him pretty well. So I called him up. I said, Jim, get ready. My goodness, it's fixing to dump all over your head.
Hmm.
Just get ready. Tell your wife she can finally buy those shoes. She likes to run. And
Wow.
we had a good laugh over it. And within a few days, the phone started ringing, and his name hit some kind of ho ho list.
Yeah.
And he just really got on the ring. It tickled me because in this case, I was able to warn this very sweet and almost humble man to get ready because his bonanza was coming, and it did.
Hmm.
So,
Wow.
um, so far, so far, I have to say, so far, what somebody asks of me, if it's something that is something they need to hear, they need to understand, I'm able to find a way to deliver them that message in a way that they can understand in their own language. Um, because I'm a human being and I second guess myself a lot, left to my own devices. I do use a lot of other divinatory tools to check and recheck and make sure that the information that I'm imagining in my head
Yeah.
basically seems to have some sort of sense to it. And granted, if you looked over my shoulder, it still wouldn't make sense what I was doing, but it's worked out very well. Um,
Uh-huh.
since becoming Hey Yoka, mostly hey, 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 the yoke's on them.
Yeah. I love it. And oh my goodness, I know that was an amazing backstory. You told me about how you found out you had this when those men came to you on the side of the road, right? How many years ago did you learn that you were Heyoka?
Oh gosh, it was in the 80s, late 80s. Yeah, I went into a bar and the Indian came out on the reservation, just walked out of his car and walked into the bar and straight up to me and said, hey, 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 I just came to tell you, you're not crazy. You're Hey Yoka.
Oh my
And he
goodness.
laughed. Yeah, he introduced me to the crowd. Everybody gave me beers up, yay, 10 o'clock Sunday morning. I'm the only white skinned woman with blonde hair and 200 miles, it felt like, surrounded by Indians and buffaloes, and was welcomed as Heyoka, recognized in Heyoka by the tribe. And I guess that's how you kind of have to do it. It's their mythology.
Mm-hmm.
I am a part of someone's mythology.
Yeah.
I'm a mythological creature, like Geronimo and Black Elk. You know, I am in good company. I have no idea why I fit there, but I know I'm in very good company.
I love it.
Kind of, it's nice to help people feel better about themselves and to help people learn new ways to use what they know. I guess one of those original recyclers.
Well, we appreciate your time here. We still have 3 minutes left on the show. What else do you want to share with
Do
our
we
listeners
really?
today? I know it goes so quick.
Oh my gosh. Well, let's see. All the good stuff's taken. the the Earth is still going to go. I'll make some predictions. I'll sit here and talk about great Mama Earth. She is going through some changes. And I talked about vibrations to begin with. Vibrations come through our breathing. If there's any way to change our vibration, that is our song, to the world, it's to change the way we breathe. Now, each organ in our body creates its own vibration because it moves. It's a working organ.
Yeah.
So your heart would make one sound, your lungs would make a sound, your liver would make a sound. And all of those sounds together, plus all of the other sounds of yours, would be your sound. This is how I find people when they're on the other side of the world. If I've never met them, I know their sound and I hone in and find them. I've practiced on missing children, but I'm not good at that because I get too emotional. But I can find my kids and your kids too if you lose them. Um, Following the vibrations, the pitch of things, breathing helps us do that. So we breathe it in, we breathe it out, and make it a big chore and ha ha ha. We don't have to make it a big chore.
Mm-hmm.
We have to recognize it, though, we don't have to. Nobody has to do anything, especially according to me. But what I've done is I've recognized why our nose is front and center in our face and why our nose enters the room first, mostly. It's so that we get a whiff of what's ahead of us. We can breathe. We can not just breathe, but we smell what's ahead of us. I sit here in Southwest Virginia, surrounded by mountain peaks in a little hole, and I've smelt the salt air
Amazing.
blowing in from the east because I know that smell. I grew up with that smell. Oh my gosh, once I smelt the marshes, I nearly swooned in the road. It's a familiar smell. We get a lot of information from our smells, but we let it go. Our eyes take over. That's the next thing that enters the room. Our lips and our nose, our smelling systems, our tasting system. And then we see things and we get distracted. If we go in without our eyes, like a lot of sighted people who are not sighted do, they go in with their smeller first and they can read the room.
Yeah.
If we would practice smelling things in the room, even right there where you sit, what do you smell?
Today I'm smelling warm air. Sorry.
Uh-huh.
I'm smelling spring in New York.
Well, it smells like microphone, maybe your hand. Can you smell your hairs? Sometimes I smell my lipstick, so I don't tend to wear it very often. It's just another distraction. My own particular senses have been heightened because of the lightning blasts, but I use that to help other people because I can smell them and tune into them. I can help them understand their situation.
Yeah.
I work pretty cheap, $150 for the read. It takes as long as it takes. I'm not going to hang up on you. I only do a reading a day, so if you've got an appointment, you have as much time as it needs to be taken. People always tell me to remind people to make sure they schedule another hour or at least an hour, maybe 4 hours afterwards, just so they can digest what you gave them, because it's generally a lot more than what was expected. I like trying to be a full service psychic, and I do sometimes overload people maybe, but I enjoy sharing that look on people's face when they get it, when they understand an issue that was just really stopping them. And suddenly the lights go on because of the story I've told them or the reference I've made. And their world shifts. They get happier. And the trauma that's going on the planet and the vibration that creates is countered by a moment of joy. Well, joy trumps sad. So, little bit by little bit, this is my motto. We are bringing joy back to the planet.
Love it. Well, thank you
Mama's
so
bringing
much.
happy back.
I love it. And just remind us how we can reach you one more time, darling.
Oh, email me at goddessjanis@hotmail.com. Or even I can't remember my email page, my web page. It's a really long name. It's called Psychic. You tell me.
I love you. I'm like, wait a second. Now
Facebook
I just lost
me
my
at Janis Reed.
Facebook.
Yeah,
and
but nobody knows how to find me, and it's such a long address.
No, it's psychic-medium-southwest-va.com. That's it. Psychic-medium-southwest-va.com. Goddessjanis@hotmail.com. Thank you for talking today. Looking forward to talking again. Go ahead. What were you going to say?
Well, I've got to dash now. As a dashing person now, I must dash.
Go
and
ahead,
you must
darling.
dash.
Absolutely. You have a fantastic day, sweetheart.
Don't forget, smell it.
Thank you. I'm going to remember that, to smell the roses and the flowers. Happy Valentine's Day. We'll talk next week.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house.
And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.